Hiya, Tim. It's Aussie Villain, mate. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm beating you, so I'm happy. Oh, we'll see about that one, mate. But listen, it's Austria up next, and, well, the sponsors want to do a bit of an event with you dressed in Lederhosen. No, it'll just be you. I'm busy. Look, mate, I'm the team owner. I'll find something to do, because I do not want to wear Lederhosen. Hey guys, I'm Aussie Villain and welcome to episode 7 here at Aussie Villain Racing, and today it's going to be the Austrian Grand Prix, but before that we need to have a quick catch up of what's happened back at the factory since last race in France, where we did okay, but no points unfortunately. We couldn't back up our wonderful Canada result. But in terms of the actual facilities themselves, nothing has changed. We don't have the money to upgrade more of this. Of course, we did do an upgrade on the points regeneration here last episode, so that kind of maxed us out, if I'm honest, but that looks like it's been that has been completed, so that's all good news. But like I say, we're a little bit short on cash because of that. If you go and have a look at the R&D now, you can see we have done one or two more parts here. What is we've done since last episode? You can see at the very bottom there the gearbox durability. I thought that was maybe worth doing because we saw we were one race short, but we had to take a penalty on the gearbox, so that might just be able to get us up to the six races we need to get to. The other two parts that we've done is the chassis weight reduction and also the rear downforce diffuser refined strake position, if that means anything to you. Minor upgrades. They're not going to shoot us up the performance chart there, but they will obviously all help. The major upgrade coming, of course, is the drag reduction, the streamlined suspension arms. That, well, along with, I think maybe all these upgrades will be here ready for the British Grand Prix next episode. But for this episode, we do have one upgrade on the car. And if we go over to the chassis department, we will see that the engine cover is here. It's there. It's on the car. It was successful, and that's going to make a big difference. That was a major upgrade, so that's going to make a big difference to what we can do. So hopefully we'll see a benefit of that in this upcoming Austrian Grand Prix. Now, in terms of the vehicle, obviously we don't need to take any parts because we took a new one of everything in France since we had the gearbox penalty anyway. The gearbox obviously is going to be good. It's just done the one race. On the corporate side of things, as I said, it's just been a week since the last race, back-to-back races. So again, not too much has changed here. The finances, you can see there, there's minimum running cost for the facility. We have got our sponsorship money in, and the finance history, again, you can see we've leveled out because we haven't really spent anything outside of just going to the race, basically. So that's where we stand. As I said, not too much has happened off the track, but let's go to Austria and see what we can do on it. So we can see our messages here. We've got the weekend preview. We have got, what do we got here? The confirmation that the weight reduction engine cover is there. The weather, another wet race. Jesus, come on, weather gods. What are you doing to me? So there we go. It's going to be a dry qualifying. It's going to be a wet race. I'm going to do some free practice, and I will see you for qualifying 1. All right, here we go for qualifying 1. We have had a decent time of things in free practice. In a dry FP2, we were inside the top 10, I think. The free practice 3 was actually wet, which was good because it gave us a chance to try out a wet setup. So that is hopefully something that'll help us out in the race, because we know that the race is almost certainly going to be wet. But for a dry qualifying, we'll make sure we change the setup back and yeah, see how we get on here. If we can get like an FP2 time in the top 10, I think I'll be very happy. But let's see how we go. Alright, here we go, coming onto the straight to start our first lap. I did have the brainwave to think, no, I need a wet setup for qualifying, the race is going to be wet, so I did change that back, thankfully. Turn 1, just about get away with that. It's really difficult to nail turn 1 to get both, take the speed in the entry and also the exit. Now this is a tricky little corner. Try and get around here. In the wet, it was a nightmare. In the dry, we've got a little bit more grip, obviously, and that was actually not too bad. Now we've got this really fun corner, brake late downhill. Try and just hook the wheel on the inside. That is far too far, and that's going to cost us time, I think, actually. Let's see if we can get these ones. Want to take as much speed through as we can, and then jump on the gas. That was too late. Again here. On the gas nice and early, accelerating through whatever corner number that is, and now for the ridiculously fast end of the lap. Down 6th, and on the gas again, nice and early on the DRS. How is that going to stack up? It has put us, where's it put us? 5th. Okay, we're coming around to start our second lap in Q2. You'll notice we're in 15th, which is obviously, DRS would be nice, which is obviously not comfortable enough for us. And really, really tricky to get that correct. And where you can see we've already lost 2/10 on our first attempt, which isn't ideal. Obviously, we made mistakes further around the lap, so there is going to be a chance to get that back. It's on the gas, nice on the gas. That should get us some time back. There we go, look at that. Clawing it back, 10ths at a time. Now, if we can do this corner better, please. There we go, there we go. That's how you do it. Much, much better. Look at the time. We're eating time up now. Got the gas nice and early, nice and early. Not perfect. Oh, we've gone purple on that second sector, have we? Alright, so that was pretty good then. Shame about the first sector. Let's see if we can finish the lap off now. Oh no, we're going to have lost time on the exit there. A little bit too greedy, but that has put us 9th, and that should be good enough for Q2. So there we go, P13 at the end of Q1. And if we go and have a quick look where Markelov got himself, he was 20th. We've out-qualified Latifi. How far are we? We're a second and a bit ahead of our teammate. Again, we've got to pose the question, and I'm a better qualifier than I am racer. We've got to ask the question, is it time to boost the skill level up? Let's go to Q2 though and see how we get on there. Alright, here we go. This is actually our second attempt at Q2. Our first attempt I made a big mistake on used tyres. Did a second lap. Obviously the tyres will be even more used at that point. So we should have, just in the tyres, 4 or 5 tenths. So I'm hoping that if I can do a decent lap plus those 4 or 5 tenths, we'll really be able to shoot ourselves up from that 14th that we currently sit at. Easy on the gas, easy on the gas. You can see we're 6 tenths up on that time already, although we lost, it wasn't the best exit, we've lost a little bit of time. Now we've got to nail this corner, please, and thank you, Aussie Villain. Second, we can get straight on the gas. That's not too bad, not perfect, a little conservative coming out of there. Now for this corner, oh, I've stuffed that up. It's scruffy, so I've scuffed it up, but it's still a purple sector. We're absolutely nailed in the second sector of the lap, but the rest of the lap has not been great. Let's see if we can finish it off well. Three tenths. It wasn't great, was it? We've gone to P8. Let's see if it's good enough. So no, we have missed out by, look at that, what is that? A tenth of a second, not even. Oh, just over. So we've qualified P12. We did actually have some bodywork damage when I went back to the pits after our lap there, our flying lap. So we've hit something at some point that may have cost us enough time to think that we could have got into Q3, but we didn't. That means it's race day. Let's go see how we get on.
Time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Ricciardo, Charles Leclerc and Sainz, Perez, Gasly, Stroll and Fernando Alonso, Oldtimer, Ocon, Sebastian Vettel and Tsunoda, Verstappen, they've taken a grid penalty, Giovinazzi, Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin, Raikkonen, Markelov, Russell and Nicholas Latifi. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
Alright, so it looks like intermediate tyres that we're on. We have moved up a place, which is nice, with obviously Verstappen's penalty there. Yeah, I mean, we're going to be really hanging on at the end, aren't we? We tried that in France last race, and we were a little bit clingy at the end, but I think we've got to go for the one stop. We can always change that halfway through, can't we? So we'll do that. We'll do the one stop, and, well, I will see you at the finish line. Actually, no, I won't. What will happen is I'll be commentating now. I always forget that I'm doing that. Over to you, Matt. Thank you, Aussie Villain. Well, here we go. It is a very, very wet track to start. We're starting on inters. I am getting a little bit better with practice at wet starts. I thought I wasn't going to go anywhere, but in the end, we got quite a decent start off the line. Almost a crash on the inside there, just about. I think it's Gasly on our outside. We just about stop us from spinning off to the inside. Bit of a, it was Gasly with a bit of a collision. But here we go on the run up to the hairpin now. We've got, so is it Ocon on our outside, Grand Prix winner of course, Dart to the inside, late on the brakes. Can we get a few sneaky positions here? Stroll on the outside, little bit of contact. Yellow flag, hopefully it's not for debris off of our car. We squirm our way back to the racing line. That's 2 warnings for contact though. I'm a little bit concerned if it's 3 strikes and you're out on that sense. But we have settled in to what is 8th position, which is a decent start. We've got most of our front wing, if not all of it. A little bit of an oversteer moment there to the inside as I get on the gas. But you can see it is quite wet for Inters. Get a little bit wide there. Turns out you can't take that in 4th gear. That gets Sainz very interested in overtaking us, and we just about do enough staying on the racing line there to see him off. But yeah, the problem that I had at this point was finding exactly how fast we could go in what corners. A little bit too fast there. I think the big issue that I had was that it's ideally I think you would want to be on wet at this point, but the track was forecast to dry out. The engineers, well, I'm assuming so, that's why the engineers put us on Inters. You can see again a little bit squirrely on the exit of turn 1 there. That's going to have Sainz interested in us again coming up to the hairpin. Luckily we had a full battery at this point, so it was pretty much a case of exit of turn 1, exit of turn 3 here, just get on the button and make sure we've got enough power down the straight that we're not going to find ourselves in too much trouble. But yeah, I mean, you can already see there is a little bit of a dryish line coming, but it's yeah, it's still quite damp. Again, oversteer as I get a little bit too aggressive on the gas pedal and spin the wheels up to the inside. Again, a little bit wide there, but I kind of learnt from my mistake last lap and managed to not go out into the grass this time. You can see it's still a bit of a train. There's a small gap developing between Stroll and Perez in front of him. But, I mean, 8th position for us would be more amazing points. So that's my main goal at this point, is just trying to find the limit, exactly how much grip we have, where we have it, as we come on board here and ready to go into turn 1. And not too bad, a decent exit on the button.
The rain looks like it's going to be getting much lighter over the next 10 to 15 minutes. There should be more grip, but don't expect a dry track.
You can see Stroll just got a bit too much traction out of there. There was no real chance of an overtake into the hairpin. In fact, I've gone way too deep. And again, we have Sainz very interested in trying to get an overtake on us. One thing that was, at this point, starting to enter my head as well is learning the lesson from France where we were really struggling on tyres at the end. I'm starting to think I got a little bit deep there, and I don't know if you could see, just kind of understeered across the wet track there. But yeah, at this point I'm starting to think I should probably start to conserve the tyres a little bit, but equally, it's such a difficult balancing act in these sorts of conditions to try and obviously go as fast as you can. I didn't want to sort of to go too quick into the sort of these sorts of corners, because that's where you're going to wear out your front tires. And yeah, and then but also obviously trying to, well, I feel like we are a little bit faster than Stroll, especially in sector 1, because we do patch him, but then by the end of the lap we're kind of too far behind to have a proper overtake attempt. You know, at the part of the track we're quicker at, but then we've got Sainz sitting up our backside again as I just experiment on the grass there. Not as much grip on the grass as it turns out on the track. But yeah, we just seem to be, we're quick enough in sector 1 to keep Sainz behind us, but we're not quick enough through the rest of the lap to get close enough to Stroll for an overtake. So it's looking at this point, you can see we're on the overtake button again, as though we're going to be sort of stuck in P8, and it might be a little bit of a race where we're not quite quick enough to get Stroll, but just quick enough to keep Sainz behind us. But again, coming through this corner, which was really, really tricky, starting to get something that looks a little bit like a racing line there, and trying to get the best exit I can out of that corner as well, because obviously that opens up a bit of a gap then for the straight, which is where Sainz is most likely to overtake us. trying to find exactly how fast we can go through the last 2 corners as well was a little bit tricky. You can see if we just got down to 3rd gear, we seem to get a little bit better of a kick out of the last corner, and the same with the first corner as well. If go a little bit slower into it, then we can get a bit of a better kick out of it. Now this is as close as we've been to Stroll.
But it's going to take a while to clear the standing water off the line. Don't start thinking about slicks just yet.
So yeah, that sort of confirms that, you know, it is just getting a little bit drier. But I mean, that's as close as we've been to Stroll going into that hairpin, probably in the race. Maybe that one lap where I got a little bit excited. But yeah, you can see we are able to catch Stroll at a couple of tenths. It feels like a lap. As I say, particularly through that first sector. But then it's sort of this part of the track. You can see there we set a purple first sector, which is no wonder why we've closed up the back of him. The trick is going to be staying close through this middle part of the lap. If we can do that, then we're probably every chance of if not getting him into the hairpin, then certainly at the end of the next straight. But yeah, it is just a case of trying to stay as close as we can through this part. And I think part of it is just me getting excited and trying to go a little bit too quick when actually sort of going slower than, because we're sliding off of the racing line a little bit. But again, this is probably as close as we've been. We're on the overtake button. We can get a good exit out of turn 1 back to 3rd gear. Can we get a good exit? It's not bad, is it? It's not bad. With the overtake button, are we going to be able to get a decent look at him? We're a little bit too far back, aren't we? And you can see in the distance as well that Perez is just starting to pull a gap out on Stroll as well. We've got Sainz right up our backside. So I do wonder a little bit. You can see that turn 3, isn't it? We're letting Stroll get away there. If we are going to get a move, it feels like it's going to have to be into that corner, because I'm not good enough on the exit to be able to stay with him to then get him into turn 4. But of course, any move that we make, or any attempted move we make, we want to try and make sure we keep Sainz behind us, because a little bit like Stroll in front, I'm not convinced that we're quick enough to get Sainz back. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if of the 3 cars, Sainz is actually the quickest of us. But I mean, it's a really good battle, because we are, like I say, we are quicker than Stroll, and again we're close on the overtake button down the main straight. If we can even get a good exit from turn 1, it is going to be our best chance, isn't it? It's not too bad. In fact, it almost looked like I hit the racing line there. Are we on the overtake button again? I'm fairly sure I am. Are we going to get close enough? We just don't have the straight line speed, do we, to get close enough to Stroll? Can we get a good exit out of the hairpin? And I didn't squirrel off to the inside, so that's not too bad. But you can see when we go back on board, I'm doing a decent job of hanging onto the tyres, but we just don't have the traction out of the hairpin to get anywhere near Stroll down that back straight. Again, there we go, the trademark Aussie Villain early on the gas, squirrel off to the inside, and we're sort of defending from Sainz again. And again, we'll kind of see that, well, one good thing, I suppose, is that we seem to have, we've got the Alpine there and Gasly, but there's a little bit of a gap. We're certainly not holding them up, which is nice. But yeah, again, you can see we're kind of catching Stroll, who is definitely at this point dropping back from Perez and Leclerc in front of him. So maybe Stroll's not doing quite as good a job of hanging onto his tyres. That is as close as we've been into turn 1. Do we get a decent exit?
The car behind is dropping back by about 3/10 a lap.
You can see there we've dropped Sainz this lap. We are again a little bit too far back, aren't we? Again, a purple first sector. And can we get the exit? Can we get the exit? No, I've squirreled off to the inside again, and there goes Stroll off into the spray. And yeah, I mean, it must. I mean, it could just be me not being able to get the car out of the corner, but it feels like it must be or might be a car setup issue, because it's every lap, and you'd think that some laps I would be at least as good, or Stroll would be, as will have a bad exit, but it seems like it's as much the car as the people driving it, trying different lines there, get maybe a little bit quicker off of this corner. But again, this is as close as we've been at the end of the lap. If we can stay with him through here, and Stroll, a little bit of a brake test there. And, well, that has, that's got me a little bit annoyed, I'll be honest. We've got a little bit of Aussie Villain road rage. Doesn't look quite as bad on the offboard, but he was crawling through that second last corner, wasn't he? And what that has done, of course, is give him a little bit of a gap. We've maxed out our deployment for the lap. We're back on it, though, as soon as we cross the start-finish line. We've set our fastest lap of the race. If we can get a good exit here in the Aussie Villain road rage. But again, it's a terrible exit. Too early on the gas, as I am swearing profusely at Stroll at this point for brake testing me. Because that was our big chance, wasn't it? It was as close as we've been. And suddenly, as I say, we've got we've got Sainz, who's right up behind us. You can see again, now look at that gap to Perez. It's out to almost 4.5 seconds. Stroll is slow at this point. He is holding us up. He is holding Sainz up. And he's bringing the Renaults and the Alpine back in, the Alpine and the AlphaTauri back into the battle as well. You can see Ocon, Gasly, Fernando, Alonso, Vettel, Verstappen, who is still recovering from his grid penalties. I was expecting him to come through, actually, but obviously he has not managed to do that. There he is there, look, stuck in behind Vettel. But again, it's just sort of lap after lap. We are, I am very confident at this point, faster than Stroll, and we're able to stick with him through that sort of second and third sector. And here we go again on the overtake button. Again, this is as close as we've been. We can get a good braking point. Oh, a little bit of a nudge through the first corner there. We haven't taken any damage. We've hopefully annoyed him a little bit with the bump through the first corner. Now this is probably our moment. We're on the button. We're going to have a go. We've done a purple first sector. We dive. We lunge. He pinches us to the inside. Can we get a good exit? We've not too bad. We're still there with him. We're on the inside. He tries to squeeze us, but we're there. We're up the inside. We've got the inside line for the next corner. Can we get this done? Don't stir up the braking. He's behind us. We park it on the apex. Make sure he can't switch back on us, and we have done the overtake. Here we go again, up the inside. Oh, and he pinched us, and we did our best. I really didn't want to take damage there because it was still good points for us, but we get a decent exit for once. I think we probably compromised his exit as well. We stuck to the inside of the track. He was not going to force us off, and there we go. Down the inside. That is 7th place. And, well, now we can see if we can close in on Perez. We've got to, of course, make sure that we can keep the position. We're going through this middle part of the lap where we've seen before we've struggled to keep up with him. So could we break free? And the answer to that was very much no. And of course, now we've got to worry about the 3 long straights that we have coming up here in Austria. Are we going to just tow him along and get ourselves out broke again coming into, well, if probably turn 1 would be ambitious. You can see we've done another purple first sector. We are dynamite through the first sector. We've got a little bit of a gap to him. If we can get a good exit here and make sure he's nowhere near us coming into the hairpin, then this might be job done. He has dropped back, hasn't he? He's half a second back. He's not close enough to have a lunge on us, and it looks as though he's got his own problems with Sainz behind him potentially. We can get a good exit out of here onto the overtake button, and that should be that. He's too far back to have a go here. This is not real. You have to really be alongside to overtake into this one. And there we go. We have completed the overtake on Lance Stroll. So we're going to skip ahead now to the last lap because not much else happened after that. You can see we've got a gap of about 2.5 seconds on Stroll. We just kind of eased the gap out a couple of 2-3 tenths a lap. Perez, we were just never going to catch him. He was gone. You can see he's the best part of 9 seconds ahead of us, and you can see the state of the tyres there. I'm going to say, considering we did have quite the battle with Stroll for a few laps there, where I really wasn't worried about the tyres. Not too bad, not too bad. There is more front wear than rear wear even. That's to be expected, I would imagine, because of just the way I drive. And yeah, it was like I say, it was a little bit of a snooze, but we'll take a snoozy 7th, won't we? At this point, of course, I am just petrified of doing something stupid and binning it. So we're being a little bit cautious. But even with that, you can see the gap to Stroll. It is out to 3 seconds now. And this is kind of how it went. We pulled away from Stroll. Perez was pulling away from us, and there wasn't really much else happening. It was just the case for me of just trying to keep it on the road. We come into the last corner here. We don't bin it out of the last corner. And there we go. That is a very, very nice P7. And, well, it's our best result so far, which I think we can be proud of. And another surprise, driver of the day. Well done, me.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes.
Yeah, look, I mean, it was all a bit boring out there today, to be honest. You know, we had a good battle with Daddy's boy for a few laps there, you know, but once we got past him, it was really just a case of trying to stay awake, count the points that we were going to get, and we'll try and keep my socks dry, if I'm honest. So there we go, a little bit of a boring race for us once we got past Lance Stroll, but 7th, which is not too bad at all. 6 points, 6 points for the championship. And if we go and have a quick look, I mean, our fastest lap was roughly where you'd expect us to be. Yeah, I mean, Lance Stroll looks like Vettel as well was maybe just a little bit of a cork in the bottle that was sort of holding up, holding up different groups there. But yeah, it was really tough to get past Stroll. But once we did that, you can see we kind of pulled away and we didn't really, well, we were never going to catch anybody in front of us. Markelov, unfortunately for us, was down there in 21st. His fastest lap, a 1:15.9. Which is quite a bit slower than our 1:14.1, almost 2 seconds. So again, it bodes the question, do we need to up the skill level? We're currently at 75, and I do wonder a little bit, I don't know, you guys let me know what you think, but I do wonder a little bit if I'm getting a little bit better at the game, and maybe 75 is a little bit low for us now. But we move up to 12th in the championship, the drivers, which is nice. 2 points behind Gasly, 4 points ahead of Fernando Alonso. And if we look at the constructors, well, we're ahead of Alpine now, 8 points. That should well and truly see us clear of Alfa Romeo, Haas and Williams now. And, well, we look at AlphaTauri, only 2 points ahead of us. It's unlikely, especially if we up the skill level, but you never know. It's starting to come along a little bit nicely for us now, isn't it? But guys, that's it for today. If you've enjoyed that, hit thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new, and we'll be back next time for the British Grand Prix. We'll have lots and lots of little upgrades on the car, which will hopefully make us go faster as well. Silverstone, though, not a track I've traditionally done well at. Take care.